Welcome to the Three Martini Lunch. Grab a stool next to Greg Columbus of Radio America and Jim Garrity of National Review. Three Martinis coming up.
Very glad you're with us for the Thursday edition of the Three Martini Lunch. If you don't already, please subscribe to the podcast or follow us on YouTube. Jim, three big stories today. A surprise thanks to two independents / former Democrats in the U.S. Senate. A very pleasant surprise. Then we've got the Russians apparently trying to intimidate Donald Trump. I don't think that's going to work very well. And then, of course, we've got the latest on the CEO murder. This time, it's not a former media member who might need some intervention. It's a sitting member of the United States Senate. So this is not trending in the right way.
It's a Senate-heavy edition of the Three Martini Lunch. You're not going to be surprised by who we're praising, and you're probably not going to be surprised by who we're criticizing either.
Two of these people were kind of sorry to see go, although one is being replaced in a good way. The other one we really wish would go, but we're not that lucky because she just won again. In the meantime, here's some good news. You can get in charge of your metabolism in the easiest way possible and the most accurate way possible. And that's Lumen, the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism just through your breath. I keep talking about this, but the reason I like to talk about it is because it could not be simpler and it works. The more data you feed into it, the more it'll help you with things like nutrition, workout, sleep, and all that stuff. But literally just taking a breath, it'll tell you what you're burning, fat or carbs, and then it'll help you with your nutrition the rest of the day to help your body function as best as possible.
Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food that you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, ideal metabolic health translates to a whole host of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, and even better sleep. And Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health.
So if you want to stay on track with your health this holiday season and beyond, go to lumen.me/3ml to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/3ml for 15% off your purchase. Lumen makes a great gift, too. Again, that's lumen.me/3ml. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. All right, Jim, so it's lame duck time in Washington. We're a little over a week away from lawmakers needing to fund the government again. But that's not the thing we're talking about with the Senate today, because yesterday, Chuck Schumer, in concert with President Biden, trying to use the lame duck session to squeeze in two more Democratic appointees to the National Labor Relations Board. And so the nomination that was on the floor yesterday was for Lauren McFerrin for another 5-year term. And so first thing Chuck Schumer's got to do is invoke cloture. Now, of course, cloture, ever since Harry Reid's little maneuvers a few years ago, you only need a simple majority to do that. Chuck Schumer, for some reason, brought this to the floor partly because he's running out of time there. You know, the Senate ends at the end of the year. The new Senate starts January 3rd. And he never got promises on how two people in his caucus would vote. That would be Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. So he brings it to the floor anyway because he is running out of time. Kyrsten Sinema shows up, votes no on cloture for Lauren McFerrin. All the Republicans vote no. And Roger Marshall of Kansas is not there. So it's 49-49. Joe Manchin is not expected to be there. Chuck Schumer's a little bit miffed that Sinema votes no, and they're like, oh, we're going to need the vice president. Wait, whose music is that? Joe Manchin is going to be here, and he shows up almost McCain style on Obamacare repeal and turns the thumbs down. And so the Democrats will not get control of the National Labor Relations Board for the first 2 years of this next Trump administration. That means Trump will get the chance to nominate his people. Now, hopefully he doesn't cave to the Teamsters on that too. But nonetheless, Jim, the Democrats foiled here as they tried to jam through people that they know the new administration would not want.
First of all, I'm thinking of all the different times Joe Biden, as president, as a candidate, even after he, was no longer the nominee, when he said, I'm the most pro-labor president this country has ever had, and labor unions, you've never had it. So, and obviously, a couple labor unions declined to endorse Kamala Harris. The head of the Teamsters spoke at the Republican convention, and now it appears they've been rewarded with a labor secretary who's very much to their liking. So some downsides to that. But clearly, the Democratic Party believes that they are entitled to the support of labor unions, and labor unions expect that Democrats will show up and do what they want, and that this is a symbiotic relationship. Well, go figure. It turns out when you have protesters out on canoes outside the houseboat of Joe Manchin telling him how much he stinks, and when you have the unhinged lefty protesters chasing Kyrsten Sinema into the bathroom, which I had figured when that happened, that you'd see this broad-based Democratic Party response of, hey, we get it, lefty protesters, but don't go after one of our own. And very clearly, because she would not go along with getting rid of the filibuster, they didn't see Kyrsten Sinema as one of their own. And when you keep on telling someone, you're not in our party anymore, you're not one of us, well, after a while they start to believe it and say, okay, I'm not one of you. And Sinema formally left the party, became an independent. The re-election bid did not go the way, but now she's a free agent. She doesn't have to vote any way she wants, and so the question of how could you do, look, Kyrsten Sinema is the same person she always was. It's she didn't leave, you kicked her out. You made, Democrats, you made this bed and now you have to sleep in it, and you have to make it yourself because there's no labor union worker to make the bed for you. Somebody said, this is, an inevitable consequence of the Democratic Party's, the liberal progressive cadre within the party wanting to drive people out. Well, guess what? That has consequences. And you find this consequence here. And I would not, if I'm Biden and Schumer, don't count on Manchin and Sinema for anything else for the rest of the between now and I guess January 3rd is when the new senators get sworn in. So, yeah, I think you want to close up shop early and everybody go home for the holidays.
Yeah, you demonize these people over and over and over again, and then you get reactions from the Democrats that are just laughable here. Schumer says it's deeply disappointing. This is a direct attack on working people and incredibly troubling that this highly qualified nominee did not have the votes.
It strikes me as a failure of leadership. I think you should blame the leader of the, did you reach out to him? Did you say, hey, are you guys on board with this? And if so, what's it going to take to get you on board? And what leverage do we have? You don't have any leverage. There's nothing left. What are you going to do? Throw them out of office? They're already on their way out of office. So, yeah, this is the concept. You wanted them out of the party, Democrats. You got it. And look at where you are.
They served a valuable function over the past couple of years, especially on the filibuster. And I enjoyed Kyrsten Sinema after the election when the Republicans, came in with 53 votes for the next Congress. And she's like, hey, what do you think about the filibuster now? Do you think that's a good idea? All right, let's talk about Omaha Steaks. Man, that is some very good news as well, because as I mentioned last week, Mrs. Columbus, as always, made phenomenal Omaha steaks. But the meat is fantastic as well. She made sirloin, she made filet mignon. I got to have both. So tender, so much flavor. They really do it up right at Omaha Steaks. They've been around for more than a century, and right now, you get a phenomenal deal. 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com during the Christmas gift buying season. Plus, get an extra $30 off with the promo code 3ML. You've got 13 days till Christmas. Don't miss this opportunity for a loved one, a friend, heck, yourself. Why not? Visit omahasteaks.com and save 50% off site-wide during the Christmas gift buying season. Promo code 3ML. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with the promo code 3ML. Minimum purchase may apply. All right, on to the bad martini now, Jim. And for that, we go to the pages of the Morning Jolt, written by you, of course, and your look at how different world leaders are reacting to the return of Donald Trump to the presidency. We saw it on very prominent display last weekend in Paris when Trump was there for the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral, meetings with Macron and Zelensky and other world leaders certainly seem to be fixated on his presence at the ceremony there. And you go through a long list, including Justin Trudeau, who tried to sweet-talk Trump on tariffs down at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump responded publicly on social media by musing about making Canada the 51st state, which apparently Trudeau did not find funny. His response was, it's a shame that America twice now has failed to elect a woman. Well, I don't remember any female Canadian prime ministers, although Justin's about as close as they've come, I think.
There was one for 3 months, and she lost re-election. So that's what I'm being informed. Okay. By the way, listeners, let's give credit. That is Greg's Justin Trudeau impression. Pretty good, I think. I don't listen to Justin Trudeau enough to really. I would put a few more boots in there, but otherwise, very good. Didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, he does have a decent Canadian accent. You'd think he'd have more of a Spanish emphasis given his dad.
Listeners, you don't realize how often I will go right up to the line and imply something about a distinguished world leader. And Greg will give me this look of, are the suits going to be okay with this? Greg going into, questioning whether Pierre Trudeau is actually the father of Justin Trudeau. We'll see.
There's some dispute about this.
Does he enjoy cigars? We'll see. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But weirdly, one that the mainstream media and the left would have you believe would be fawning over the return of Donald Trump would be Vladimir Putin and the Russians. Trump says he wants to end the war. Everybody says that, Trump was doing Putin's bidding, may have even been on the payroll back during the previous 4 years. But here's what you write about Russia's response in the Jolt today on November 7th, so 2 days after the election. On the state-owned Russia One channel, one of the most popular channels in the country, the Russian political talk show, translated 60 Minutes, displayed nude photos that Melania Trump took for British GQ back in 2000, some 5 years before she married Trump. And then the anchor, Yevgeny Popov, declares, quote, now that Melania Trump's husband has finally won, she is getting ready to go back to the White House for a second time. Here's how Melania looked in the year 2000. This is the cover of the magazine GQ. The future first lady lies on top of furs in a negligee. It goes on for about a minute and a half, you say. The program made sure the viewers saw every photo from the magazine spread several times. So, Jim, as you point out, nothing gets on there without at least the tacit approval of the Russian government. Weird that they would try to do this, first of all, kind of antagonize Trump, but I also think they're misreading the way Trump is going to look at this. But what do you make of specifically how the Russians are doing this, but what you're seeing overall as well?
Yeah, first of all, these are, this photo shoot was back in 2000, before I believe she had even met Donald Trump. When Trump was running back in 2015, 2016, they came out, I guess you'd characterize them as tasteful nudes, very much about her. Well, anyway, so I put a link to the video of what Russian state television did. Russian state television aired them without any parts blurred. The video that I linked to is blurred. If you really want to know what everybody's talking about, you can Google it. The image is in place. But they've been out for a long time. And so what I think is most notable about this, I heard this from somebody yesterday. I was like, come on, they did. And I was like, no. So I went and looked online, and yes, this actually happened. First of all, the narrative that Trump and Putin are buddy-buddy and that Trump is some sort of bootlicker or something, things like this do not line up with that narrative and certainly indicate that, as I wrote, and I think you concur, is that nothing happens on Russian state television without the approval of the Russian government, and very little, if anything, in the Russian government happens without Vladimir Putin signing off on it. If Vladimir Putin had a problem with this anchor and these producers would be falling from a high window somewhere. So I think this is very clearly a signal sent to Donald Trump. I think this is an egregious insult. I think it's very much a message of, they are not, welcoming him back with open arms. They are not treating him with respect. And, one of the interesting questions, this was not covered a great deal in the American media, which kind of surprised me. I guess one of the reasons I was so surprised I hadn't heard about it before yesterday was that you figured this would be, I went and I checked. There were a couple isolated references to it here and there. And I just kind of feel like, this is Putin basically giving the finger to Trump upon his, re-election. And really worse, giving the finger to his wife. Like, there's kind of now on the one hand, this is, the sometimes you see the terminology in the mafia, like those who are in the family are soldiers, right? They expect the risk. They accept the risk. But members of the family, they're civilians. Now, admittedly, there's nothing new about Russian hitting civilians. But in this case, to go after the president's wife instead of the president himself just seems like a classless thing to do, just seems like a real, just deep personal, about as contemptuous as you possibly can. And I just think it's a very vivid demonstration. I think you could argue this is a dominance move. This is an attempt to Putin to be trying to remind Trump who's boss or something like that. It is about as antagonistic a move as you could possibly imagine. And we talked about Justin Trudeau. I made the contrast to Zelensky and to Macron. I don't know whether they would have preferred to have Harris win or they felt more like-minded. But the whole point of my column is like, Trump is going to be president starting January 20th, and barring some health issues, I hope the man lives to be 100, he's going to be president until January 20th, 2029. You might as well learn to live with them, and you might as well learn how to get along with them, and you might as well reach deals where you can. Disagreements are going to happen. Discord is not. And it's just kind of, the contrast between Macron's approach, the warm welcome. Zelensky in his comments mentioned that Trump is one of only possibly two forces on earth that Putin is afraid of, the other one possibly being China. You think Trump liked hearing that? You think Trump feels good when he gets told that, Vladimir Putin, you intimidate Vladimir Putin? So just kind of fascinating to see the way world leaders are responding to Trump's return. And I think wherever you are on the political spectrum, I think you should be kind of offended at the Russian state television approach to this and the recognition that this is the Russian government attempting to send a very disrespectful message to the president as he prepares to take office.
No doubt about it, but I also don't think they read Trump very well. And you'd think after all this time, they probably would. He's not easily bullied, obviously.
Yeah,
he's used to be the one kind of as the aggressor in these different things. So I don't think that's going to throw him off message. And part of me wonders whether his response is going to be, yeah, my wife's beautiful. What's your point?
Look, if Trump had a problem with those photos being out there, they would not be out there. British GQ has never taken it, at least as far as I know. It's not like they've gone looking for him. But the photos have been floating around out there for a long time. Sometimes you write something about Trump, somebody will post them in response. It's a very juvenile, sneering response to anything that the president-elect does. And it just, but then again, coming from Russia, perhaps we shouldn't be so shocked by it.
No, they'll go into the gutter as far as they can possibly go. That's no surprise whatsoever. All right, well, let's talk about ways to improve your business, because as you look into 2025 and beyond, you don't know exactly what the future is going to look like, but you can future-proof your operations. In fact, more than 38,000 businesses have future-proofed their operations with NetSuite by Oracle, the leading cloud ERP platform. It integrates key business functions like accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one seamless system, ensuring that businesses are ready for the future.
With a unified business management suite, NetSuite provides one source of truth. It gives you complete visibility and control, enabling quick, informed decisions based on real-time data. And when you gain real-time insights and forecasting, you can make proactive, data-driven decisions. And with actionable data at your fingertips, you can anticipate trends and respond faster to opportunities.
Look, these days, you've got to have some automations in place that allows you to do more because you only have so many hours in a day. So let these programs, let these technologies do the work that needs to be done, but frees you up to do the things that matter most to you. So when you're in that position, get NetSuite by Oracle. Meanwhile, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/martini. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/martini. That's netsuite.com/martini. All right, Jim, on to our crazy martini now. And this might seem a tad repetitive, but consider the source this time. It was just a couple of days ago we were talking about Taylor Lorenz initially feeling joy. Well, maybe I don't mean joy, but, people are going to respond to this because they know what it's like to have to deal with insurance companies, and they're so frustrated about it. Well, as we said, Taylor Lorenz probably needs some help. But when you're a sitting member of the United States Senate, it's a different story. Elizabeth Warren, who just reelected, sadly, to her third term in the Senate from the state of Massachusetts, going on MSNBC with Simone Sanders sitting in for Joy Reid and explaining, violence is very, very bad. We can't tolerate that. But this is what happens when we have to deal with these people all the time.
What happens when you turn this into the billionaires run it all is they get the opportunity to squeeze every last penny. Yeah. And look, we'll say it over and over. Violence is never the answer. This guy gets a trial who's allegedly killed the CEO of UnitedHealth. But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
Yeah. So basically, the shorter Elizabeth Warren statement is, yeah, that's too bad. But you know what? Those people are horrible.
So I'm actually really kind of curious. We'll know more about the shooter. We talked about it earlier in the week. But how exactly was the shooter pushed too far?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of evidence of that so far.
Right? We have evidence of back surgery. Mm-hmm. No indication that he wanted the, first of all, we don't even know if his healthcare insurer was UnitedHealth.
Right.
Was there some procedure he wanted that he wasn't allowed to do? Like, we all kind of, people imagined this scenario. And as far as we know, that is not the case. And so this was, as I pointed out earlier, just somebody who wanted to kill somebody. No noble cause behind it. He had a manifesto, but he did not have any personal wronging of him that he was attempting to, seeking vengeance for. Warren is getting called out for this, and deservedly so. I think what's intriguing is something my colleague Charlie Cook had noted, which is that think back to a whole host of the way the Democratic Party looks at all kinds of economic issues. And it's like the toxic populism, this sense that it's Bernie-esque millionaires and billionaires and big banks, but this somewhat more sophisticated academic approach. Look, Elizabeth Warren is where she is because she was appointed to the it was Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, I want to say, by Obama. And she was the one who inspired the "You Didn't Build That." And when I was doing through my review of all of the candidates of the 2020 cycle, I pointed out you can make the argument that Elizabeth Warren was one of the kind of subtle winners of that cycle. She didn't win the presidency, obviously. She reigned in the Senate, but a lot of her staffers ended up taking influential positions in the Biden administration. So if it seems like Joe Biden governed as a much more left-wing figure than he campaigned in 2019 and 2020, some of that was because of the people around him, and that these were, by and large, Elizabeth Warren acolytes, both explicitly having worked for her before and or just having broadly buyed into her economic philosophy point of view. So if you're writing it, why is the Democratic Party where it is today, not having the presidency, having lost to Trump, who they thought was unelectable, having lost every swing state in 2024, having lost the Senate by now 53-47 is not a small divide there, lost the House, lost fewer governorships, fewer state legislative seats. Why are they where they are? You can blame Obama, you can blame Biden, you can blame Harris. No doubt there's a great deal, but you kind of should wonder if Elizabeth Warren is a bigger figure in the architecture of failure over the past decade or so than she's given credit for. It's good that she has less influence. And I kind of wonder if this, assassinations of CEOs are just about inevitable. I almost wonder if this is an effort to stay relevant, but it would almost be more, I don't say it's never understandable and it's never good, but you could say, oh, okay, she just wants attention. I actually think this is what she genuinely believes, and that she deep down is not as horrified as she, says in the preface to her statement there.
It's just really disappointing because she's normally so charming, Jim.
Greg, your mailbox is less than 12 inches away from the curb.
That's right. We're gonna have to.
Greg infamously in one of our end of the year awards characterized her as the homeowners association president who's always giving you grief about minor things. So yeah.
Yes. Very, 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 very true about Elizabeth Warren. And we're stuck with her for 6 more years, at least. Jim, have a good day, though. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Greg.
Jim Garrity, National Review. I'm Greg Corombos of Radio America. Thanks so much for being with us today. Do subscribe to the podcast if you don't already, and tell your friends about us as well. Thanks also for your 5-star ratings and your kind reviews. Please keep those coming. Get us on your home devices. All you have to say is play 3 Martini Lunch podcast. Follow us both on X. He's at Jim Garrity. I'm at Dateline_DC. Have a terrific Thursday and join us again on Friday for the next 3 Martini Lunch.